All right, Alex. Well, why don't we hop in here? Yes, again, thank you everyone for joining Alex and I here today. We're excited to show you some of the new features inside of Revizto's 5.14 update that just dropped recently. And again, for the folks who were at RevUp, you did see a sneak peek of this. You were able to talk to us while you were there and ask some questions. But today's webinar is going to allow us to look at a number of those features and really show that connection with them. So um, let's go ahead and move to the next slide. Agenda here for today. We'll run through a couple housekeeping items. Alex and I are going to introduce ourselves for the folks who don't know either of us. And then as far as the major features we're going to look at, custom statuses, printable QR codes, the one that I know everyone is really excited to see and play with if you haven't done so already, augmented reality. And we're going to show all those features combined. Alex is going to run through more of the picks and the clicks that allow you guys to pull those together and really make them work in one cohesive environment and workflow. After that, we're going to also run through a couple more items as far as some additional features that were part of that release that we want to make sure you guys aren't forgetting about. We'll spend some time in Q&A as well, depending on how much time we have. Now, as part of the housekeeping, this will be recorded. So for any of your team members who was not able to join with us here today, that's totally fine. Go ahead and share that link with them. They can register and then get the recording to follow up with. So please share that with your team. Use that chat feature to engage with Alex and myself and the other attendees. Love to see the engagement as far as where you guys are located. It's always fun to see where our audience is throughout the globe. So thank you for doing that. And then the Q&A section within the webinar. This is where Alex and I are going to do our best to answer questions that you guys have while we're talking, right? As Alex is talking, I'm going to have a chance to run in there and answer some quick questions. Again, as best we can. We also have a section at the end where we can answer some more of those questions, and we're going to be running off of that list. So it's important to put your questions up there, and we will answer them accordingly. Keep an eye out for some polls. We're looking for some participation from you guys. We have two fun poll questions here today that I know Alex and myself are very interested in seeing your responses to. So we're excited to do that. And then also we have future webinars. One thing I love about Revizto is that we really have a strong presence in the industry, in the community, and we try to give you guys really as much information as we can. So there's webinars across the globe that are happening right now with this release of 5.14. Some of our counterparts in Europe already ran through their region yesterday. So there'll be more coming next week, and then we'll have a whole nother round of topics and discussion points coming in the next couple months as well. So a lot more webinars to come. All right, so introduce ourselves. My name's Shaun Hester, Director of Implementation Services for the Americas Group. It used to be just North America. We actually added a new team member, Juan Diego, who lives in Costa Rica. So we're expanding into Latin America as well, which is very exciting. Team is growing. We're adding more people and just making sure that, really that quality of service that you guys have come to expect from us, you're still receiving from our customer success team. A little bit of my background. I've been at Revizto for a little over 5.5 years, coming up on my 6-year anniversary into the summer here. It's been an amazing journey to see Revizto grow from when I started, the features that we've added, the team that's growing, and really the customers that we're working with. So thank you guys very much for being great partners of us. Before coming to Revizto, I worked for a large commercial general contractor for a little over 11 years, both in their Denver and Milwaukee offices. Worked on a lot of different project types, hospitality, hospitals, research facilities. Loved every minute being on the project site. And that's really, where my passion is as it relates to the industry is I really love getting the technology into the hands of the operation folks. very, very exciting for me. And excited today to talk about how some of those key features that we have in Revizto are really going to allow you guys to gain that additional adoption and excitement with your operations teams with these new features so they can use them in real application in the field. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm going to pass things over to Alex so he can introduce himself. So go ahead, Alex.
Yes, thank you, Shaun. Thank you, everybody, again for joining today. Yeah, just a little bit about me. My name's Alex Gomez. I'm an implementation manager, and so I'm the technical point of contact for all of our customers on the eastern coast of the U.S. And today actually marks my 1 year work anniversary with Revizto. So funny how that all lined up, but that's today. And beyond that, my background came from I came from a large general contractor um, around the southeast here, and I was actually about for 5 years on a data center campus project doing leading coordination. So I know a bit about cramming systems into small buildings, but not that architecturally ornate. But yeah, I also come from a sort of a family line of BIM and technology. Yeah, I actually have my father's in this industry as well as my two older brothers. I'm the youngest of three, so I'm just following in the footsteps of their shoes and looking at yeah all the new construction technology. So especially with these 5.14 updates, I mean I'm excited coming from a project site myself. I see big value in the new features we have that we're going to highlight here today.
Love it, love it. And Alex will be popping bottles of champagne after this to celebrate your work anniversary.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I love that you mentioned the family. If for those who don't know, Alex's brother David also works with us here at Revizto. So I'm sure a lot of you have worked with him and seen him on webinars and our Help Center videos. So if you were wondering, yes, they are brothers, and yes, their entire family is focused on making this industry better as a whole. So
You
again,
can imagine the dinner conversations, Shaun.
I can imagine Thanksgiving dinner has to be pretty fun in your household for especially for us industry geeks. I love it. All right. Well, poll time. So we can't start talking yet until we actually ask you guys a question. So which feature are you most excited about? Not surprised, Alex. We got quite a few people wanting to see the augmented reality, or most excited, I should say, not seeing it. I hope y'all played with it already.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's not that it's just the first option, right, Shaun?
Right, right. We should have put that down at the bottom. Good call. Yeah, close second. Not quite close second. Improve clash automation, so that'll be good. Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and we can move on here. All right, so the first enhancement that Alex and I are going to talk about is the custom statuses. And this is one that we're excited about because it opens up a lot of doors to customization inside of your project and your processes. So, we have heard from a lot of you the standard statuses of open, in progress, solved, and closed. They're not enough, right? This really opens up that door to customize those statuses to do what you guys need to do, as well as be able to pull those other folks from other departments and parts of your organization into Revizto, because you can start to replicate those processes that you have already running in your organizations inside of Revizto. So let's go ahead and shoot over here. We're going to play a quick video and talk through this as it's playing. So again, really standard statuses, you're still able to use those as part of your workflows if they fit within your process. But now we can start to add and create new workflows on top of that. So we have buckets of issue types that you can start to create statuses into those issue types. So You'll see here just some examples, some customized coordination workflows, tracking workflows. Really, sky's kind of the limit here. And then within those issue types that are part of those workflows, now you can start to see how those custom statuses start to fill in. All that information reports out just like anything else inside of Revizto into our reports and dashboards. So you guys can really take that information, start to distill it down to what you need to see, report on, and share that information with other folks in your organization. Oh, let's go here. There we go. So just some additional examples here that the team has worked on, and some of these actually came from interactions with folks on the attendee list today when we were at RevUp, when we were talking about how can this be used inside of your projects right out of the gate. I know I had the opportunity to actually man the booth, however you want to say it, in the custom statuses section of our product booth and really had some good conversations with folks. But initially, you start talking about the customization and how you can add all these different statuses, and kind of takes a little while to sink in, right? What are the possibilities? What are some of the things that I've wanted to do inside of Revizto in the past? And now that I can do that. So it took some conversation to get there. But the ones that you see on the screen here are ones that were talked about the most. Tracking, okay? We list here concrete tracking, but this could be any type of installation or equipment tracking inside of your projects. Think about your self-perform teams that you have on site. If you have custom tracking that you're doing from a design perspective, maybe it's tracking of design review of drawings. This isn't just specific to GCs. This is going to span all of our clients across all the different verticals of the industry. Facilities management, how can you take this information and hand it over to your client, and how can they use it downstream inside of Revizto? Custom clash workflows, really helping to round trip that life cycle of information as it moves from coordination. Maybe there's a question, you need to reopen something, something's on hold. You'll see some of those statuses start to be wound into the overall process here. And really, it's kind of adding those additional steps that are part of your process. MEP tracking, looking at fabrication and how those statuses can start to break down those steps as part of that workflow. And then observations, field walks, punch listing, health safety, again, opens up the door to a lot of that functionality. Alex, anything you wanted to add here on any of these custom statuses or about this new enhancement before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, on the screen, we've got some great examples, but I just wanted to go back to an earlier point you made right when we were introducing custom statuses. So, I mean, just reiterating that, this is just another path that we can go down to involve those other team members as part of the project. I mean, we're that collaboration platform for that whole project team. So let's introduce and kind of mimic those workflows that those departments have set up in their processes. And then we can replicate those here with our custom statuses and really start documenting and making sure all communication is staying in one place. Really building off of what the issue tracker was built for, but now involving more specific and more detail to each of the teams and how the information matters to them.
Yeah, I love that, Alex. Breaking down the barrier to entry and helping to increase your adoption, right? The excuse of it's another tool, it's something else for me to learn. It is another tool, but we're taking your process and we're putting it into the new tool, and we will walk you through it through onboarding steps. But in terms of understanding the process and those steps, they already know it because it's part of their existing process in the organization and their department. Yeah, that's great, Alex. All right. Let's see here. On to the next. Another poll, Alex.
All
So
right,
let's go ahead and
full
grab
time.
this one here. Yeah. So what type of custom status workflow would you implement inside of your organization or project first? We have field-related statuses, pre-con statuses, QA/QC, improved clash statuses. Boy, these numbers are moving. This is
Oh
great.
yeah, kind of all tied up together right now.
Yeah, neck and neck between
Yeah.
field-related statuses and improved clash statuses. All right, there we go. Cool. Well, yeah, this one, I was really interested to see what would win out, but I'm not surprised that, really across the board, there's interest in all four of those particular topics. So that's great.
Yeah, and in fact, we got all the above. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure we want to
Ah,
implement all these workflows.
nice.
So, this one
Awesome.
was pointing at which one would we do first. I know I'm excited about it, getting it on everybody's projects.
Awesome. I love that response, Robin. That's great. All right. Next, QR codes. And let's go ahead and we'll play the video here and talk to this particular workflow. So QR codes we're able to pull out from geometry inside of your project, as well as the issues inside of the issue tracker. So simple selection. You have some details that you can add within there to focus on the objects. We can do single QR codes. We can do multiple QR codes. Love this video. Really applicable to real world scenarios. QR code on top of a piece of equipment takes you directly to the properties inside of Revizto. And from there, you can start to use that information to your advantage to pull up that additional data. Um, Head to another spot inside of the project, another QR code, right? This really helps navigate easily for some of the team members who, frankly, might not feel comfortable flying from one side of the project to the other inside of a 3D model, right? So this allows them to go from one place to another relatively quickly. And one that we'll show that connection on in a little bit. But before we move on to the next one, Alex, any details you wanted to add regarding the QR codes?
Yeah, I actually have a example. I was able to get out on site last week at one of our large airport projects that we have with one of our customers, and do some field training for them. So, uh, introduce the new features, show them the QR code workflow, and it's not to say that QR codes are new technology. They're definitely not. I think we all really started having to use those during that COVID time period just to go to restaurants, pulling up those menus. But the simplicity of scanning that code, it taking you to that location in the model, especially when you're out on site. I mean, it's just so fluid and their eyes opened right up. Like, so they don't have to fumble around with their app. You don't have to go to, certain grid line location or pull up the room name. It's just very simple. You pull up your phone, you scan that code, you're taken to that spot in the model, you're taken to that issue out on site, and then you have all your documentation right there in your pocket.
Yeah, Alex, it really is easy. And we had some folks who have done some workflows in the past of, generating QR information with a third party by taking the link from the issue tracker on the web issues. And it worked. It worked really well, but there were some steps to get there, right? And we've been able to cut those steps out and really make it a simple process to pull this information out of your project. And then, from a model perspective, being able to use the QR codes in the model, grabbing the rooms, using the rooms to generate QR codes, pieces of equipment, really, it unlocks a lot of potential as part of your projects. All right, Alex. Well, let's shoot over. Oh, hold on one second here. Sorry about that, everyone. Augmented reality. Okay, so this is the I think one of the drum roll moments of 5.14, I would say. Lot of great feedback. We've seen a lot of great feedback on social media. So LinkedIn has been peppered with videos of folks out on their project sites using the AR part of Revizto site app. And something to note that we're seeing is that folks are using their phones. They're also using their iPads. Something that does get missed from time to time is that you can download and install the Revizto site app on your iPad as well. So, we have some folks who've said they prefer that UI better, and they can use that on the iPad, bigger screen, and then also has the larger AR portion as well. So don't forget that. And then also, I want to make a note real quick. So there are some folks who are putting some questions on the chat. We will do our best to answer those while they're coming in. But if you could put them in the QA section, it is a little bit easier for us to follow along, just because the chat gets a little lengthy at times. All right, thank you. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at this video here as it relates to the AR functionality. Really straightforward, being able to calibrate via a corner. And this is something that our dev team was able to achieve, and pretty amazing how quick and easy it is to calibrate with that corner. That's going to set your location. It's going to set your scale. It's going to set really your orientation inside of the model quickly and easily. You'll see here within that AR capability, we can generate issues, whether you guys use in regular issues or stamps. All those are going to be available while you're in that AR side of things. And then that snapshot that you see actually is going to take you to that. It's gonna add that inside of the issue tracker. So keeping everything, really as part of those issues. So everyone's informed, even with that AR. So having that screenshot of the real condition versus what's happening inside of the model. Picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So before we hop in here and let Alex run his things, Alex, anything you wanted to point out with the AR before we switch gears and have you run through some of those clicks?
Sure. Yeah. With AR, I think we got to think about, again, sort of the features that are already set up in Revizto and where AR can kind of layer on top of that. So I immediately think of, all right, we enable AR on our device. We're brought to that location out on site, and perhaps we have a reality capture scan, a point cloud of that existing space. And maybe we're already in the space, walls are already going up, but we want to see, prior to slab being poured, we want to see what systems were underneath it, maybe got poured within the slab. So we can actually turn that point cloud back on as long as it's available in the Revizto project, and then begin kind of scanning that slab to see what is underneath that content. So just kind of peeling back those layers of time. As long as we have that data, we can pull it up in Revizto, we can enable AR, and point clouds are also visible with the AR tool.
Yeah, Alex, wonderful, wonderful example. And I think, our team member will pick on Juan Diego again. Just he had a good comment of, that point cloud, that reality capture with the AR is a much cheaper option than doing some of the X-raying of the slabs, right? There's still going to be some application for that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but in terms of understanding, is there a clear path for us to put a penetration or add something to that slab? It's gonna show you that, and that reality capture is really spot on. So really good application, and yeah, another feature that is really going to open up the doors and really show that connection with the project and what's happening live in the field and what's happening inside of the the models, the technology, and making that connection and combining those two together. So, okay, well, I'm excited to turn things over here to Alex. Alex is going to run you guys through, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Alex is going to run you guys through some of the clicks and the setup of these features. And then most importantly, he's going to pull them all together and connect them so that they're all working together in one cohesive environment. All right, Alex, go
Exactly
ahead.
right. Yeah, thank you, Shaun. Exactly right. So I want to start off with custom statuses here, because I'm already seeing a lot of questions in our chat related to, what's the setup like, how are they designed. So this is definitely the most complex feature we released with 5.14, and understanding how custom statuses operate is an important part of obviously setting it up on your projects. So all of the setup for custom statuses is going to be taking place in your Revizto workspace of the project. So we have a new tab up here in this ribbon for issue workflows. And then this is where we're going to be adding those new workflows. So when you're starting off, you're going to see that standard issue type, open, in progress, self-closed. And that's all that'll be in your project. We can begin adding these new ones from here. So our workflow itself is going to be kind of like the folder of what is containing our custom statuses. So we'll first create a new workflow. In this demonstration, I'll just open one that I've already created. Let's go to our, let's see, our custom Clash workflow. We can hit edit here. And then after you're done creating your description of the workflow and your name, it'll take you to this page to where you'll see those standard issue types. But from here is where we're going to then create our associated issue type. So the issue type is what shows up in the application. The workflow itself is only contained in the workspace. This is the folder that it's residing in. But when we look at the issue tracker inside of Revizto, it's going to pop open with your issue type that you are applying to either that issue, that individual issue, or to a stamp. And then I also want to cover a couple new introductions to how we had to set up our custom statuses here on the right side. So if typically we had to assign a category based onto each of these statuses. So let's think about the old standard workflow, open in progress, solved and closed. The category is now applicable to how we're going to create these custom statuses. So we've got 3 categories. To do is going to be an open issue that has yet to have work associated with it. So it is an open issue. Nothing has been done with it yet. And then tracking is going to be, we have started work on this issue, but has not yet been completed. And then completed is obviously that is a closed issue. That's what's going to show up in your closed issue statuses as complete. So we can add the issue types here at the bottom left. We can see the ones available that I've already created in the projects if I just wanted to associate it with another workflow. And then we would add our custom statuses here at the bottom as well. So just using whatever characters you want. I think it's also important to note that when you're adding these statuses, we can add descriptions here. I think the more descriptive we are with these statuses, these are going to all be hoverable. These descriptions will pop open if you hover your cursor around it. And it will let the team know, when do they need to move on to the next status? When do they even need to use this kind of issue type on their issue? It gives you that description and more flexibility with when to use this type of issue. I also want to come back here and look at another example I've created is this observation category. So we can associate more than one issue type to a workflow. So we kind of want to think about, all right, well, how can I use, making sure I don't create too many one-off custom workflows in one project. It can start cluttering things up. Let's think about what status workflow multiple teams can start using these in. So observations, our field teams will be using those. Our QA/QC teams can be using those same descriptions. So we can set up a status workflow that both of these teams will be able to carry on into their issues during their creation, or if we want to apply this to QA/QC or field stamps. All right, I'm going to go ahead and also hit on our reports. So just like how that video highlighted, I wanted to come back into here and view our reports as well. Or not reports, sorry, dashboards. And we can start seeing all the data aggregated to each of these issue types. So I've created one chart showing us open issues by assignee, but now I can also see what kind of open issues those are. So I've got custom clash issues, damaged items, inspection checklists. I can create further detailed charts here to look at those specific categories. So to do, we've got one concrete installation discrepancy under our concrete install status chart. We're looking at our tracking issues here. What's been cured, what's been poured, what's been complete with framing. But we only have one that has officially been marked as installed. And then same with our damaged items example. We've got 18 open issues and with only one repaired equipment. So just another visual way to start aggregating of how this data starts looking together when we're creating these custom statuses. This is all going to be filterable, not only in the dashboard space, but also within the issue tracker itself. All right, I'm going to move on into Revizto. Just kind of highlight one particular example along the lines of equipment tracking. So I want to go ahead and create a issue for a damaged piece of equipment here. Perhaps I'm already marking my equipment tracking as a custom property. None of this is new. This hasn't changed with certain workflows. But until we hit that damaged item, that's when I want to begin my issue installation. So just from some pre-building of this project, I've already created some appearance templates to show, installation statuses as well as damaged equipment. So I can easily and visibly see in my project what has been marked damage within that property I created. I've also have a search set associated with those damaged items. And then from here, I can apply my stamp. Now my stamp is going to have that damaged equipment workflow within it. I can click on all 5 of these damaged equipment items, create my multi-stamp, use my damage tag, create them, and then we're going to open up the issue tracker and see what exactly that workflow looks like. So by default, since I've set that up in my stamp management, I'm going to have my issue type being that damaged item. And now my statuses are that investigation, remediation, and repaired workflow I created in the workspace. Now, beyond that, I want to also come back to maybe a more familiar item with most on this call, looking at like an issue that was identified in Clash. So we're working through our issue creation, utilizing Clash automation. And now we want to go through the workflow of, all right, well, we need more information on this particular Clash issue. We're going to need to elevate this issue to an RFI in order to review it back with our team and make sure it's remediated. So just like how we can, maneuver all of the different parameters and change assignees, we can also change the issue type. So we can understand this issue type started with a Clash issue, but now we can move on and I can go down my list and hit RFI. So I can hover over RFI, can see that this description is used to escalate an issue to an RFI. It's now going to want me to remap the current status of open to the statuses that are available for our RFI issue type. So our first one is going to be submit that RFI. I could look at the description, begin gathering info to submit issue as an RFI in our project management tool. And then we get that change log here inside of the issue chat that we changed the type of issue that this has been created in and now what it is to. And then we can work through all of the different statuses associated with our RFI issue type.
Alex, I love that example because it really shows that kind of life cycle of the issues. And now we're at a point where an issue can live from issue type to issue type if there's more steps in the process that need to be taken place before it actually comes to a resolution. So, you took it from coordination. It was done with it was as far as we could go in coordination, but now we need to move it into a place where we have to ask an official question. RFI kicks in. We have statuses that Alex showed with that. And then when we get answered with that RFI, we can also add into our custom workflow in the RFI an additional status if we want to for verify the model, or if it's something that needs to take on another set of steps, we can move it back into coordination. And there it runs through remodeling, Clash automation takes place, and then we work towards the resolution of that particular issue. So really emphasizing, again, just that complete life cycle of what issues are inside of Revizto. And I know, Alex, you are excited to hop into AR. I can see that here. You're ready to rock. But before we do, there's one question that I want to just talk about that someone had as it relates to the process that you were talking about with the custom statuses and the workflow you were just looking at. And that is, can we add the custom statuses to the stamps? The answer is yes. So in your stamp management, you can now add and Perfect, Alex. Alex is going to hop right in there for us. You can go into your stamps within the management here, and you'll see we have the types already listed here. So you can add those types to specific stamps. You can have certain stamp categories that are specific to workflows. Really, there's a couple of different ways of going about that, but this is where you would make that happen. Thanks, Alex.
You had to halt my excitement there. I'm sure, just
Sorry,
like many,
I know. You got to pause for just a little bit longer.
AR is just that important right now. So, all right, let's go ahead and this will be the AR demonstration portion. So I'm gonna go through a similar workflow with our damage equipment stamp, as well as applying it and looking at those custom statuses, but this time within AR itself. So let me go ahead and pull open my camera app. So the idea here is we're going to have those QR codes out on site, and we're going to be able to make them scannable now. So in this case, this is going to be a QR code associated with this door. I'll click on that link. It's going to take me to web, so it could open up the cording project. I'm going to load my example model in this case. And I'm taken to that spot directly here on site. So now I can, do a number of things. I can navigate via viewpoints or look at a 2D plan. But in this case, I'm already at that same spot. I want to enable AR here at the bottom left. I'll hit AR. Here are our ways we can calibrate. Corner is our recommended option to calibrate scaling as well as location, but we do have a couple other types we do offer. So I'll hit calibrate by corner. Going to hit continue. It's going to pull up my camera once again. It found 3 surfaces to identify that corner of the wall.
Even with a sleeping puppy, it still
That's
found
right.
the corner.
And then I will do the same here within my model. I'm going to click on the floor and then the associated surfaces near it. It'll detect that corner. We'll hit continue. And then I have that overlay of model conditions with reality. And then the slider here at the bottom is going to give us that ability to switch between the two. Full model conditions or installation conditions, your reality. And then from here, we can also think about, other things we set up in the project of, appearance templates. So right now, I'm not able to see through some of these objects around my room. But as long as I hit these 3 dots at the top right, I can bring up some templates I've created. I've got one called see-through here. So I've actually made all the walls, the ceilings, and floors transparent. And now if we look around, we can start seeing those model objects beyond the wall. So in this case, I've got some ductwork above ceiling. I'll go ahead and look at that. I can interact with it. I can pull up its properties, see its issue properties. I've got my equipment tracking items here. This is where I can then, mark it installed. Looks like this is a damaged piece of equipment, so I'm going to make sure I want to associate that damage issue stamp. Scroll down until I see stamps. I'll search damage. And it's going to go ahead and place it accordingly. And now we have that damage issue stamp to where I can now create the issue and see the statuses associated with it on the phone app. So that complete workflow of how we would create, a stamp out on site, how we would document it. We can come back into the issue chat, maybe create a more detailed photo of the item itself, take a picture of that installed VAV, use the photo, maybe a more descriptive picture of the damage itself, and make sure it's documented inside of the issue. That kind of completes my round trip through AR. Anything you want to add there, Shaun?
So real quick, Alex, because there were a couple of questions regarding like if I walk away from AR or if not from AR, if I start moving, walking while I'm using AR, what happens to the calibration? And do you still have your can you pull your phone back up just so people can see
Yeah.
the button to click? So a couple of folks have asked, how far can I walk before it starts being unusable? We don't necessarily have an exact dimension. I can't tell you it's a foot or 20 feet or 30 feet or 100 feet, right? It kind of depends on the orientation, the size of the model. There's a number of factors there, but I can tell you this: out of the field walks we've done and the feedback we've received from clients, they were actually surprised at how well they were able to walk with the application in AR, and it still kept up with where they were walking. We actually had an example of some folks who forgot that they had AR on, walked downstairs to another floor level, and then went, okay, this isn't quite working, only to realize, well, they actually went down a set of flights of stairs and they were still in AR, right? That would need a recalibration. Um, if Alex, I'm totally putting you on the spot here, but if you can bring your phone back, thank you. There is a button to do some micro adjustments if things move out of alignment. If you walk too far, it needs to be readjusted. So that's what Alex is looking at here. And it's just a matter of using your fingers on the bottom or the side to move and change that orientation to where it actually needs to go. Maybe something shifted in the field and you're seeing that shift happen and you want to realign something because it makes more sense to align it to that spot to do some verification and then pull it back to the actual location. So there are some micro adjustments that have been added in. This is a feature our development team added, which again, we were very amazed at just how easy and accurate it was to use. So if you start walking, things start changing, I would use the recalibration first. If it is still off, then I would suggest going and grabbing another corner and then recalibrating it to the location you're at. Um, that recalibration, that corner works really well. And as you saw Alex do it's going to pick up those corners relatively quickly and get you guys scaled and back to that location. Okay. Well, Alex, yeah, why don't we hop in we got about 15 minutes left. So there's a couple more things we just wanted to make sure everyone was looking out for in terms of the other updates in 5.14. The reality is there were 700 line items and tasks that our developers went through to make this build happen. We're only hitting on a couple here, right? So there's a lot of other things that went into this build that we're really thankful that our development team was able to fit in. We'll run through the list here. So transform multiple scenes at one time. In your object tree, you can grab multiple scenes, you can move them. Pretty straightforward. This means you don't have to grab one at a time, go in to move those scenes, and then make those adjustments. You can grab them all at the same time if they're moving into the same spot. I know shared coordinates never change, so you guys will probably never use this. Totally joking. Um, Project members' companies are now visible in the issue tracker. This allows you to filter in our presets, custom presets, to see those companies, right? Start to distill down the issues in the list by companies. A little plug here for our workspace. We encourage everyone when they're in the workspace and when they're working with adding more people to their workspace to emphasize on the data management as it relates to users, right? Company, department, location. This all factors in, company being the one here that's important to then be able to use inside of the application. So that data is helpful. We suggest you guys use it. New set of clashing types. Object A requires object B. Real simple example here. Look at a column, steel column. There's a base plate needed at the bottom of that base plate. This is going to allow you guys to look at some of the model, let's see, cleanliness of what's being modeled and say, is there a base plate under that column? If not, call out a clash. We can see it in the list. We can go back and make those adjustments. Again, simple example. There's a lot of other applications for that. Statuses of issues linked to Procore RFIs no longer tied to the RFI statuses and can be changed independently. This does not mean you don't see the status coming from Procore RFIs. We will still see that. It's just going to be added as another part of the metadata as part of the issue in the issue tracker. What this does, though, is it opens up the door for you guys to now take advantage of those custom workflows within the custom statuses to say, the RFI has been answered in Procore, now what? Now we need to round trip the information. We need to pull up another issue type, and we need to start walking through the remaining parts of that process to verify the model, make sure they've been updated, and then issue that information to the rest of the team. We implemented a fix to eliminate model flickering and Z-fighting, as it's often called, in cases of surface overlap. Simple thing, but something that everyone's going to be really, really thankful for. Before, this was really about model management, and in the projects that have so many models inside of the object tree, this becomes a daunting task. We know it does, and we've received that feedback from you guys. This eliminates that, so you're not going to see that flickering. You're not going to have that annoying Z fighting happening. Okay, the remaining two, we do have some slides here because it is worth showing some of the enhancements a little closer. So Alex, if you want to move on to the next slide, we'll take a look at that location-based issue creation. So as part of the advanced automation, now you're able to determine what gets assigned an issue or not assigned an issue based upon a location. This is rooms, spaces, zones, areas. So within Revizto, now we can look at saying, okay, within my clash automation test, I only want certain clashes to go into the issue tracker because it's part of a certain area, a certain location, okay? This allows you to do that. If you want to hit next, Alex, there's another screen here that actually shows a little bit larger within here. So we can start to exclude or include that information now. All right. And then lastly, batch search set creation. Another one that's been asked a lot of in the past. Taking advantage of clicking on properties and then creating search sets directly from our properties window. You'll see at the bottom of our list there is batch create those search sets. This example being a conduit run ID. And if you want to hit next, Alex, this really now allows you, and you can hit next again, allows you to bring up the screen that we see on the right. Revizto is going to generate all of the instances within this property and create a search set for each of them. And you can see at the bottom, we can include the category name and the property name. So at the end of this, we're able to see every single work pack as it relates to those conduit runs individually inside of a folder in our search sets. And then you can use those how you want on the rest of the project. So really saving you guys some button clicks and understanding from our fabrication customers and partners on your projects, there's a lot that goes into creating this data inside of their authoring files. And this is all data they want to take advantage of and you guys want to take advantage of. So we're really excited to be offering this as a way for you to use that data. Okay, so we're done with the slides, Alex. We have a number of questions still left here on the list. So let's go ahead and run through a couple of these. Let's see. We talked about the custom statuses at the stamp level. Visibility for different users in groups. For example, QA/QC team only having visibility to the QA issue status type. So right now, there isn't a way to differentiate groups of people in those stamps other than making them private stamps and adding them into those stamps that way. So that's a possibility. But I will say, as part of some other enhancements that we have planned for the future, permissions is part of that. So this is something that we can specifically add to our list to make sure that the custom workflows, custom statuses is a part of that conversation when we get to that point. So that's a really good suggestion.
Looks like we've got another one here. What happens when the original clash is closed automatically in Clash, but not finished in the RFI process? So that was that example that I shared with changing that issue type from a clash issue to RFI, we can actually point, this is a part of the setup in the workspace, of when a clash is closed or reopened, we can point it to one of the custom statuses we're creating within that workflow. So maybe in that case, we create an additional status for, you know, uh, close clash, but it's still not the end of that issue status. Maybe that's a tracking item instead. So we'll have RFI complete being the complete status closure of that particular issue.
Wonderful. So another one on issues generated by Clash automation. Can the type be changed to change to an RFI type? Would updating the Clash automatically make status change to that issue? It does. And when Alex brought up the editing inside of those custom statuses, there's actually on the left-hand side of that dialog box, there was two statuses that were based on Clash automation. So if a Clash does reopen, what status do you want to map to that reopening in your issue type and that custom status process? So the developers thought about that. We have that built in. Definitely encourage you to take a look at those questions and then just assign accordingly based on your process. All right, we did talk about the QR code. Well, the AR tracking and moving away from the initial location. So again, just suggest using that micro adjustment, that micro calibration that Alex pointed out. In a lot of instances, the AR is going to follow along just fine. But if it gets to a point where it needs to be recalibrated, move to another corner, and then move to that corresponding corner inside of the model, and you'll be just fine. What else do we got here, Alex?
Let's see.
There be functionality to batch compile documentation related to stamps that have been closed out. So that all can be pulled out from our reports and dashboards. So what Alex showed when he was in the workspace after walking through the custom statuses, you can compile any reports and dashboards based upon the stamps that you're using, as well as the issue types as a way to distill that information down to smaller chunks. So yes, you can pull that out. Just make sure you're heading over to the workspace and you can have that report out in a much more meaningful way.
Let's see. Are we going to see the ability to align AR through QR codes? For site conditions underground, I see it being tougher. So I think definitely this is the first iteration of AR we're seeing. Just like all of our other tools on the application, we get improvements over time. So the more requests we get, obviously for QR code location to align that AR, the more we're obviously going to be able to develop it. But yes, I definitely foresee that in the future. Don't know, can't give you exact timelines, but yeah.
Hey, couple more left, Alex, and then we can probably wrap things up here. What other one do we want to take on? Someone asked about elaborating on the transform multiple scenes. So this specifically talks to our object tree and being able to make a scene transform, moving that entire scene or model to a different location. Let's say the model that came in was in the wrong coordinate system coming in from Revit. As part of that scene transform, you can change the coordinate system to be accurate to what you've planned for your overall project, or you can make some adjustments in the X, Y, and Z to also place that in the right spot. So this allows you to take multiple models, multiple scenes at the same time through that selection and move them all at once. So you don't have to do it one by one if any of those coordinates change within your project. So there was a couple of questions about mobile devices and performance. So I will say this, we've done some talking to some of our clients. We've done some discussions with our developers, looked at some of the devices that are out there from an iPad perspective. What we're seeing is that 4 GB of RAM and larger have the best capabilities. And that doesn't necessarily relate to, like, is it a pro? Is it not a pro? Some of the non-pro iPads that are the recent iPads have that RAM, if not more, right? So before, in some of the larger projects, we would say, Pro's gonna do the best for you, but it really is about that RAM. So I would say 4 GB and up is going to be the best. This is something we're working on updating our documentation on our website for minimum specs. So that's something we can have on there soon. But I would definitely suggest that. And then the other thing is the LiDAR capabilities on the devices as well. So you saw when Alex went through and did the calibration, there was multiple options. There's the corner, there's the floor, and there's no calibration. Corner's going to do the best job. That's going to do the best overall. And the LiDAR is what's going to catch that. So having the LiDAR is going to greatly increase that calibration quickness. Again, you can do the other ones. You just have to be oriented properly within the model as it relates to the actual physical space. So it's possible, but definitely something to consider if you guys are making some more investments in mobile devices. So,
Like we've got
okay,
one more. I'll just
yes.
lead it off with this. So, must you use Revisto's site for QR codes and AR? Good question. So right now that is where it is currently enabled. So we are still working on obviously improving the iPad application too, but that's not to say it's not possible to still download Revisto's site on the iPad as well.
Wonderful. Good one to end on, Alex. Alex, it was a pleasure working with you today
Oh
and
yes.
and talking to the long list of people that we have here on this webinar. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Um, Please reach out to your customer success managers at Revizto if you have some more questions. They can walk you guys through any of this functionality, talk about some workflows as it relates to your current practices, and really make sure you guys are hitting the ground running. If you haven't downloaded the latest version of Revizto 5.14, I hope you actually did it during our webinar today. But if not, please do it immediately. You're gonna get a lot of use out of these new features and functions. And again, thank you. And Alex, any parting words on your end?
Just another thank you from my end. Yes, let's set up those calls. All of my customers on the call right now, we can set some time aside. Let's look and run through the features on your projects. And then again, let's keep the feedback coming. I think all of these features that we're releasing are heavily influenced by the feedback we're receiving from you guys directly. I know a number of people were wanting to see those custom statuses in the issue tracker, and this is our time we're delivering. So let's continue the feedback. That's where we get most of our insight and where we're going to work on next, where we're going to work towards. So I don't want that to stop. That's for sure.
Well said, Alex. Well said. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful day and good rest of your weeks. We'll see you guys again soon.
Take care.
Bye.